Casual around here. It is Thursday, December 4th. This is the Capital Program Committee meeting. And I'm gonna do a roll call. I'm Jill B. Don Hill is here. Christy Kickin is here.
I am.
Liza
Here.
here online. It looks like we got Caroline Balzer.
Yep, I just let her in.
Okay, and we have Howard Matz.
Yes.
And I think
Here.
that's it for committee members. And then for staff, we've got Sue,
Here.
Brian Turbot.
In attendance.
So lovely to have you, Brian. We have Leah Hill. Hi, Leah.
Hi, here.
Good to have you, and Rick Sears. And Sue's Otter. We have Jeff Carlson.
Love.
with
Jill,
Christy
I'm here,
Frank-
Caroline.
Oh, hi, Caroline. Great. And everybody else, I'm not sure.
Housing department staff, we have Rachel Field and Dylan Metcalf.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Yeah.
And then we have Emily Molden.
Mike Israeli.
Hi, Mike, how are you?
Mark Lucas.
Hi, Mark. Great. So we got full house. I thought can I get approval of the agenda? And also this meeting being audio video recorded.
So moved.
Second.
On your motion, Liza.
Aye.
Christy,
Aye.
Dawn,
Aye.
Caroline. Howard.
Aye.
And Jill's and I. And I need to open this for public comment. And we're gonna close public comment. So we're gonna jump in and I think we're gonna start with housing, if that's good, with everybody, so that. And Chrissy, if you wanna come to the table, you wanna stand up and do charts and graphs and point or whatever, we love a live interaction.
Yeah.
Oh, and you can talk about the truck too. Are you gonna mention that, or do you want me just to talk to DB? Just talk to
We'll be
about that.
presenting the truck as well. Thank you for the reminder.
Okay, well, that's what I want to make sure, so. And thanks for all your responses. We asked a lot of questions. There was a lot of good detailed information for the committee, so thank you.
So we can start with the truck. We put in a request for a truck specifically for the housing department. This department has kind of grown as we started to manage municipal employee housing. We manage roughly about 40 units or so, plus transient housing. In total, we're serving a little over 50 employees. And Rachel's job a lot of the times is to go, as an example, ovens getting fixed. She has to go and meet Dover, the people that are going there. She's using a personal vehicle a lot for one, and then also we are moving things. So people are moving out of apartments or we get a new one, we have to furnish it. It's a lot of going out and caretaking and checking on things and trying to secure a town admin vehicle or using our personal vehicles. Would be much easier to have a truck, and also to kind of take that pressure off the DPW. Every time we needed a truck, we had to arrange with them, wait for them to be available. And happy to answer any questions about the truck. I'm a good driver.
Well, I just didn't know why you wouldn't want like a Ford Explorer or something, but it sounds like you want to move things.
Right. I mean, I drive a 2-door Bronco, so the whole point would be for something that I can like load things into. My Bronco is,
Yeah.
I can't do that.
It's not a 350 is the good news.
Yeah.
Where's it gonna be parked?
It depends. Oh, sorry, you want me to answer this? It depends on, they're checking the availability of a Lightning, first, and if it's a Lightning, it's a C Street space. David Gray would have a key, and, if not, I think finance department.
So it'll be in a town spot.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
What's the frequency that you'll be using that? I'm just curious, like, a lot, I mean, as far as needs and do you see that you would just probably wouldn't want to see like a growing inventory of vehicles, you know, so are you thinking that this would suit you guys for many years? Obviously, without knowing what's really going on with future housing.
I would hope so,
You know.
yeah. I mean, I use mine every day.
Yeah,
I go out in my personal vehicle every day
Yeah.
to go to something, to the dorm, to one of the locations to meet a service person, the DPW, somebody. Every day I'm out there.
okay,
It's a really hands-on job of.
yeah, I get it, yeah,
maintenance.
I know the utility side of things, it's helpful and.
Yeah, there were just a lot of truck requests this year, so it's a little tricky. Big,
Yeah.
big long list of vehicles, but it sounds like DPW would service his truck and look after every part of the central fleet.
Yeah, but we're part of Central Fleet and, you know, part of Nick's thing, we just kind of had it coming from the housing department, so specifically it'd be serving our needs.
Okay. Right? Anyone else? Howard, any questions?
Nope, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Do you want to go on to municipal employee housing?
Yes, so I also brought Dylan Nutch and Pell, the deputy housing director. Dylan's really our staff liaison to the Affordable Housing Trust. And a lot of the questions that were asked involve questions kind of, we're asking questions around income restrictions and, you know, private public partnerships. And so just kind of brought Dylan here in case there were specific questions that relate more to how the Affordable Housing Trust is managed. And there's a question on how the funds have been used. And we just really wanted to make it clear the distinction between the two, basically entities. The Affordable Housing Trust is its own, has its own charter and like establishment and kind of purview of what they can do. And what we're asking for on Wait Drive is specifically employee housing. And in recent conversations this week, we're really looking at this to be specific to not just, we say like municipal employees, but to school employees as well. And trying to make sure that that message is out there to the community that this, is serving the people that are working for the town in the school.
Yeah.
Okay, happy to either go through the questions one by one.
Well, you talked about a fixed bid last time, maybe doing that, but, I don't know if you still are gonna do that. Are you still gonna keep the amount at 7 million?
So the 7 million that we put in as a placeholder is while we go through the process, I'm trying to think of the date today. I think it's the end of this week or early next week. We have an RFQ going out for an OPM. That OPM will help us with the design, and getting things out to bid. Our hope is to have bids back by late March, early April. And we have Kevin Manuel, the town project manager, helping us kind of guide that project to have things completed in time for town meeting. So that we can go to town meetings saying that this is the bid and it's not construction at risk because it's modular. But we will have a dollar number that it would be, and then we can ask the voters to approve that amount.
I give us a ballpark.
You know, I
It's
hate,
okay.
I know, I hate to be either so far over or
It's
under,
something that
but
has to go on the ballot anyway, I think, so, you know, that number's gonna be what it is, but.
yeah, so last year, the cost estimate for just the modular construction was about 4 million, so you know, that doesn't include any of the other, like design, engineering, site work, you know, everything else is gonna go into it. That was just purely the modular work, and so it's hard to know how things are changing every day. Like we heard last night at select board that prices are coming down on the other side of the pond. So, you know,
I heard that.
will they come down? No idea. You know, something crazy goes awry with tariffs, it could be a lot higher. So I've struggled with trying to say a number because I don't want to put something out there and disappoint voters if it comes in higher. I'd prefer to say, you know, it's gonna be 10 million and then you come in much less, so. But we're using 7 as that placeholder.
Okay. So you feel like it is gonna be somewhere in there?
Yes.
we're not gonna go back to 21 from last year is what I was just, I mean, that's what's in my mind, because that's what last year was. Okay,
Yeah, so the idea here is to start with a phased project, and so there's 5 total, parcels. So this would be the first parcel, and then in the out years, we'd be coming back for funding for the other parcels. And when we release this, we're hoping to get alternate bids back, so we have a good price estimate for those other parcels. So,
yeah, I think that's what got tripped up last year. People, they wanted to kind of know what the whole project was gonna be, even if they were only doing a piece of it then.
Mhm.
Yeah. Does anybody have any other questions? Howard, were you gonna go?
I have a whole series of questions, like a lot. So how about if everybody else goes first and then I could play cleanup?
Yeah, I'm good. He goes.
You can go.
Go ahead, Howard.
Okay, so I apologize. My IT department, me, is not doing very well today. So I'm reading from your email in small text. I wondered if you could help me. I looked at 30B just quickly today. Um, you made a statement that said that 30B says that the town can't contract directly for privately developed town-owned housing. I didn't see that in 30B. Can you help me with that?
yes, Brian Turbot is online. He doesn't mind if I call him out on this.
So the construction of the dormitories would actually fall under chapter 149. And the procurement would require an OPM, and as on a qualification-based selection, it would also require a design firm
Yes.
under chapter 7, section 44 through 53 inclusive.
Okay,
To answer your question about contracting, I mean, we would have to, if the town is building it, we would have to go through a normal procurement process as outlined in chapter 149.
That wasn't my question, actually, but so are
We
you,
can't do, what you're asking, I think, is secondarily is can we just have somebody build it and either lease it to us or something?
actually, that is part of it. It's called a P3. And,
Yeah,
and go ahead.
I don't believe the town can, because I think there's a decision from 2010 called it's what's known as the Brassey decision. It was the University of Massachusetts contracted with a developer on land they own in a leaseback situation. And Brassey Development constructed it, and it was for the sole purpose and benefit of the University of Massachusetts. And the Supreme Judicial Court ruled that under that scenario, because the University of Massachusetts was the beneficiary, ultimately owned it at the end of it, and a few other indications within that decision, they determined that it should have been subject to all procurement laws related to the construction of public buildings in the Commonwealth. So I don't believe, we're the only beneficiary of it, and it's on land that we own, and it's public dollars that are being put into it. And in this instance with housing, we in essence would have or exercise a great deal of control over the construction or the types of houses that would be being built, because it'd be for our benefit. I believe that we would frustrate the Brassey decision on at least 3 of the 8 points or more. And if you frustrate it on one, you fail it on all.
I read the Brassey decision weeks ago. I'm sorry, I can't debate that point whatsoever. But the concept that I had in mind and is I'm not sure if this really is a dormitory, but what do I know? But
Well, the Brassey decision relates to any type of
I understand.
situation as
You
that,
made a
so,
comment on dormitory. I'm just saying I don't
Yeah.
see it as a dormitory.
yeah.
I did read the laws, and it does provide for the ability of the town to competitively bid for things. And they can competitively bid for things that to acquire them from private parties. And they can, in fact, competitively ask private parties to bid to provide things like housing. And they can, in fact, provide, as we have done with other specs, very, very explicit specifications for the project in the bid documents, which then the third party would have to privately build it and achieve it in order for it to either be leased or purchased at the price that was previously negotiated for either the lease or for the purchase price during the bid process. And I do see that that is legal based on my non-legal research.
Well, I mean, I'm not entirely sure that I'm following you, because if we put out a procurement to build for a contractor to build it under 149, we're competitively bidding it, right?
I'm not asking somebody to competitively build it for us. I'm asking somebody to deliver a product to us that we're going to buy that's completed.
Yeah, but I still think that it would if the attempt is to reduce the cost by not requiring us to follow the procurement laws and the bidding laws and prevailing wage, I think you immediately frustrate the decision, because it would be solely from public funds.
Right. I have to go back. I read Brassley weeks ago, so I can't really debate that right this minute. But I do know
I mean, one
that
of
this
the
is
third prong of that test, Howard, just so you know, is whether public funds are used. And then
yeah,
it's the extent of control retained, in this case by the town, during development and construction. And I don't see a scenario where the
have
town.
control. We wouldn't have control.
Well,
They'd have to deliver a project. They'd have to deliver a project that's met specifically the specs that were prescribed in the construction, in the bid.
but those would be designed by us, so we would have.
They are,
control
but
over
then you're
that.
not, you did, but you do that in every other bid procurement you do. You specify exactly the details that you think deem appropriate to complete and comply with.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, because we frustrate one of the 8 steps, I think we are automatically not able to do it, because if you frustrate one,
Right.
you frustrate them all.
Okay, well, I would like to go back and read it, but the basis for this is twofold, as you on one fold correctly pointed out. It would be awesome to, one, not have to have the construction manager, and 2, not have to deal with prevailing wages. And the third point, which no one else has really focused on, is the fact that we are not a builder of housing or any other sorts of projects. We're not good at that. There are people that build these things. There are people that develop these things. So I'm not sure, I don't understand why that we as a town would want to take the responsibility for building this, especially in the context that we haven't had really great construction management experience like at the airport. So I would suggest to you that it would be really nice to buy the housing rather than to build the housing.
One point with respect to the way that because this is modular, prevailing wage would only be required on site for the trades for the
good.
piece that's here. So the majority of this is built in boxes off site, and the way that the statute is written under modular construction, there is no prevailing wage for any of the construction done not on the town site. So all the boxes built and delivered here would be, that portion of the entirety of the construction would be exempt from prevailing wage.
Thank you for that clarification. So I guess the question stands, we all appreciate the need for town housing. It's just not a business that I think that we should be in the construction and development of real property. And I guess
I don't have an argument one way or the other for that. I mean, I think there's points and counterpoints to that. When you buy houses that are on the market, you're buying the outside of, when you build a house outside of the first year, within the first year, we have the builder's warranty for the finished product that's delivered, right? When you're buying houses, you're buying the liability of the renovations from that point forward. And so depending on what the size and scope of those are, you would still be into prevailing wage, potentially bidding law issue.
Sure.
Bidding law ramifications that way too. So
prevailing wages aside, yeah, I hear you. Thank you. That's excellent to know. Prevailing wages aside, what do we know about building housing?
We build police stations and fire stations and all other things, and we do them successfully. So I mean,
And a brand new dorm. sorry.
Yeah, and we built a brand new dorm that we just opened up to a large number of lifeguards this year.
We are having to do a lot. Howard, do you have any more questions?
No, because I don't have everything in front of me, but I wonder what the alternatives are there. And I can't believe the state doesn't provide on a permissive basis alternatives that would permit us to have a third party build this and either do a sale leaseback or do an outright sale to us. That would allow us to dictate what the thing looks like and allow us to, if it's a lease, to dictate who can use it, because that was not prescribed in 30B.
No, it's actually, the reference
Cor-
is actually, would be in chapter 149. 30B is for goods and services. It's chapter
Yeah.
149.
Oh,
is
well, Christie's the
construction
one, Christie gave us 30B, so that's why I was referring
Yeah.
to it.
No, that's fine. But the prescribed statutes for construction of public buildings is contained within chapter 149 and section 7 or chapter 7, sections 44 through 53, inclusive for designer selection and OPM.
Okay, well, if you don't mind, I may come back to you on Brasley and 149 after I get back and read it. But I mean, I hear you and I appreciate it. I just am frustrated by the concept of us being in the housing business. So thank you for your time and patience.
Well, we're in the housing business no matter which way we do it, though, right? Whether we build it or we buy it, we're in the housing business.
Yeah.
And it comes with additional costs either way that we do it, right? I guess is my only
Yeah.
observation. I'm not making an observation on which one is right, but both of them come with cost and responsibilities either way. And it does, in my mind, Howard, it does put us in the housing business either way.
Yeah, I do hear you and I appreciate that. Thank you.
One other thing I just want to add to it, if I may, is we've looked at what it would look like if we went out and purchased units around the island, and we've seen the cost, which was actually my first report too, which I wish I had on the top of my head. But we looked at alternatives, and with that, there's having to do renovations again, having to go through procurement to get someone to bid. We're going through this right now where we haven't been able to get work done for almost a year because people aren't bidding on things. It's really difficult both on Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket to get people to do work under chapter 149. I wish the state could waive a lot more things for us with that, but
So how would that
If
work
we-
if you're building something, then you can have the same problem?
it would be in newer conditions. We wouldn't be buying
Yeah, but
things
at
that
one day
are,
it won't. be.
oh, yes. But we'd have, proper maintenance and upkeep over time. The other thing is when we're going out into the market and say there's a house on the market for 2 million and the town buys it, then it's kind of taking away from people who might have bought in on the private market for that. So we're competing with the public, and it's something that the Affordable Housing Trust has tried to step away from with Dylan's hat, because we were hearing that people who thought they could have bought the $1.6 million house on Surfside, that opportunity got taken away because the Affordable Housing Trust purchased it. So this is land that the town owns, and we can build on site.
But it's an asset that depreciates. Christie?
Well, we're doing both. I mean, we purchase housing for staff. And we build it based on certain staff. So we do both. On Howard's point, as far as purchasing it all, I see there's some housing that you guys need that you can't just go out and purchase. It just doesn't apply, and you're gonna spend more money just trying to retrofit it. So I do think that the sort of both methods work, so.
My real issue is about who you're trying to serve, because when you sent the survey, if I recall correctly, you said most people did fall within the 80 to 100% of AMI. Yeah. So our tax dollars are going to the HTF, who is serving that group. And I know that we can't single them out the way you can for municipal housing. I understand that. But I feel like I think from what you sent, that's gonna be up to about $180 million worth of spending for that demographic,
We have,
based on what's coming online in the future and what we've already allocated, right?
right, so Right, so, what Jill's just saying is, we know where town employees fall based on their employee salary. We don't know what their spouse or family dynamic is, so
Right,
they might be earning more than that.
But-
When we look at municipal housing, we can only look at what they can be deducted out of their payroll.
yep,
The Affordable Housing Trust to date has been awarded appropriate $150 million. And a lot of that is serving a wide range. The need is much higher. And when something like Wiggles Way has their lottery, they can't specifically say these are gonna go to municipal employees. And so that's one of the challenges with Howard's questions is we want less control, so we can say this unit is definitely going to go towards municipal employees versus a lottery where everybody, I mean, Wiggles Way had 197 people in the lottery.
Yeah.
And they had 6 units, so your chance of literally winning the lottery is slim. This allows us to specifically designate them and have a much greater chance of being selected.
yeah, I just still personally would like to drill down on the AMI that you're trying to reach, like, do you have a maximum? Because the truth is, if you're saying, in my mind, I just think like a voter, I always tell you that, that's all I think like. That if you are saying you're gonna subsidize people up to 350, 450% of AMI, I think that's tough at town meeting to ask people to do that.
So we wouldn't, I guess, rephrase that question, because we wouldn't tell employees they wouldn't be an income qualification for this housing.
Well, don't you think maybe, I mean, this is just, why not? I mean, wouldn't you be giving it to your most at-risk employees?
I mean, we see the need across every department. We had somebody come in that just lost their housing that is manager level position that we needed to act quickly and find something. So this needs to be open for everybody. We have situations.
But is
where
this gonna be
people-
temporary housing for them then? Is that more
I mean,
what you're
we
thinking?
have,
Cause if you
they
have
can-
people at higher income levels, I'm gonna assume they're not gonna wanna live there forever.
I mean, there's not many options on Nantucket Bay. Sometimes you
True.
take what
I'm
you
with
can
it.
get. We have turnovers and vacancies, and we have, like I said, somebody came in a month ago with no housing. We act quickly if we had these units to quickly, be able to assist people, and we're not out there trying to find something. I mean, we had a situation with an employee. We started, I think, in August, trying to secure a lease, had everything set. They gave their notice. It was set to go to the select board on Wednesday, and they told us the Monday before that they were pulling out. It had been almost 2 months of working with this family to get their unit, and our employee had nowhere to go
For private rental?
for a
Yeah.
private rental. And I mean, the procurement time just takes, no offense, but it just takes so long to get things to the point of executing a lease, and then they have to tell their landlord, 30 days or some days in advance that they're leaving, or, trying to line up somebody losing their housing with something like, we need the availability to act quickly and have things on stock.
Are the private rentals, year contracts?
Yeah.
I mean, for a homeowner, obviously, hey, I know I can rent my place for 5 years, like, and it would be a little less volatile, so, I
I
mean, do you
think you
guys
can't do that though, can you?
So we can
Is that,
do,
can you,
we can do
what-
up to 5 years.
and have you entertained both, like, do you use both, or?
We've asked, a lot of people want to do like a test year or a
Yeah.
test 2 years. A lot of people don't want to lock in to 5 years
Mhm.
because they don't know what the market's what's gonna happen. One thing that I think is really kind of crucial is we have Richmond units. We had a 5-year master lease. We're already through our first year. So we have 4 years left. When those end, we're gonna have a huge gap if this housing isn't built. And we're going to need to find alternates, but it's 10 units, and there's a lot of shared housing in there, so we have multiple employees being served by these 10 units. So if we don't pass this year, it's something that's gonna come looming that we need to address, adding that to our inventory.
You're still at the, I mean, I guess, I don't know, to what extent are you still at the mercy of them doing rent hikes?
So our master lease has a fixed
Okay.
increase.
But only for those 5 years, so if you re-up,
Yeah.
then you'll be at market rate.
Do you get some sort of right of first refusal after 5 years or? Open, or I don't know what they would call it in.
I'm sure they would continue to, I mean, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm sure they would
If they
continue to
can.
rent to us. We
Okay.
just don't have any control over what the increase would be.
Yeah.
We've been able to negotiate with them a little bit.
Yeah.
Right.
But we're still in active projects with them. which
Right.
won't be
Yeah.
most likely.
Gotcha. Can you have some questions?
Easier.
No, I was just gonna say, I mean, and Libby could probably speak to this, having housing that the town owns. If you're either trying to keep someone or trying to attract someone rather than running around trying to look at like rentals and be like, where might they be willing to go? It would be like, we have these.
Yeah.
This is what we are offering you. This is your package and it's ours. Like, you're not gonna get kicked out, that kind of thing.
We can allow pets. Pets are probably on
Pets are
our
a big
list right
thing.
now of
That's very
employees.
common.
People have,
You gotta have a pet.
I would say 75% of the people on our list right now have at least one pet, sometimes more. So
Good, I hope they're happier people.
We need to put
Very.
A dog.
yeah, really.
They're gonna do a
Well,
lot
they
of
may
it
build a
too.
dog park before we got housing for municipal employees, so all ready for it.
All kinds of pets. Snakes. Yeah.
Ooh.
Please don't have a snake get loose when we drive.
I'm gonna write a
Great
book.
story.
I'm gonna write a book.
That'd be highly entertaining. Liza, you have any questions?
No, I feel like I have.
Yeah, I know we've listened to you a lot, Christine. I'm sorry we keep bringing you back here.
No, I mean, it's important. If there's confusion or questions at this level, it's gonna come up at town meeting, so it's a good test run for us. It's really complex and, I feel like every day we're trying to solve this moving puzzle piece of how do we create stable housing. And as Donna was saying, like when we're attracting people, even an example of renting something and then that rental is only 3 years, like what do we do in 3 years?
Yeah.
If that homeowner doesn't renew,
Yeah, you
Do
feel
we
you have
have-
a clean sword over your head all the time.
so,
Most of our stock is rentals right now.
and it's really volatile.
And only one is a multi-year. Well, besides the master lease, only one private landlord has a multi-year lease.
Is there any way in this, the way it could be phrased, that we could still include money in there for you to go out and deploy to buy things though?
That's
You
a
know, I do
Brian
feel
question.
strongly about that. Because those are assets that increase in value and you probably always gonna be able to sell them if you wanted to, like if you got the housing, you're like, we don't need this anymore. We have senior management, we have, well, whoever it is, I'm just not even gonna discriminate against this, like. Whoever you all think that you need to house, it's there, it's like, when it's available, if it's good, and I know pickings are slim a lot of the time. So I'm not saying it's always a good idea, but I just wonder if that shouldn't be included in this, Brian, what do you think?
I mean, my initial thought is we can, but I think that it creates a difficulty if we decide to build and we wait to see if anything comes to the market in terms of increasing prices. I mean, I'm sure we can write the article with an authorization to acquire property or build, construct, so on and so forth, including any and all costs incidental there too. But I worry, Madam Chair, about having two competing types of acquisition in the same article, which I think is what that would be, right? And I mean, one of the things that we find is, right, but one of the things that we find is that the longer we wait, the more everything costs, right? So in terms of building, okay, and if this,
Costs are coming down, what was our last time?
well,
They're
we don't know what
coming
we don't know
down.
what they're coming down to
Not
on this
I'm being
here, but he did say that, but it wouldn't be impossible. I'm not sure that we would want. I look at them as two different approaches to solving the problem, and I don't know if it would be ideal to put them into the same article because one could crowd out the other, I guess, is the way I would look at it.
I think there's just a good case to say, hey, we might find something now while we're designing and building and going through procurement, and we kind of wanted to have some money for in case, just to have that optionality.
So I guess.
And the other I think one of the other problems with that as well, though, is that acquisition of property like that I believe requires a town meeting vote, which would thereby also require us to know what the address already was, so
Do we have to?
I believe we have to.
With 9 volt fence, it was in article.
It
Yeah,
was,
so,
that,
yeah.
we just started doing that. I don't feel like we've really been buying.
Yeah,
Yes, it was, and it was
Well,
for
unless
the
we
airport
had
too.
money in the
I've
fields.
But actually, the airport didn't do that, Brian. They switched. Remember, we thought, we looked at what they were gonna buy, and then they turned around and switched it because something didn't work out with that.
So I talked to KP Law at length about this, about how could we have some sort of article that kind of like Affordable Housing Trust gives you a bucket of money and allows you to deploy it as opportunities came up. So I think we could work a little bit with KP Law, but I feel like there was a way that Vicky found, that could authorize the funding, but at either a select board meeting, or there needs to be some sort of notification to the community that we intend to acquire it, and there needs to be a written notice against it. So I think
So maybe it doesn't have to be like,
I don't wanna promise that it's possible, but we've been exploring it, but I just think I'm worried about confusing the voters. If we either have two articles, like one for construction and one for
I'm saying put it on the same.
acquisition.
one.
So then are you saying ask for making up numbers like $10 million, and some of it will go to construction and some of it would go to acquisition?
Yeah, you could do either or both. It gives you the flexibility.
I don't know if, I feel that voters are very nervous of an open-ended.
We would.
I mean, I
we've
came in
given
last
it-
year
we've
with
given a
their-
blank check to the Affordable Housing Trust. I actually don't think, we gave a blank, that's what kicked the whole thing off, is a blank check for $20 million. I actually think they're okay with that.
The Affordable Housing Trust has built-in restrictions
Yeah,
on
but,
income.
yeah,
goes to the
but
select.
the original article said you're supposed to go buy housing. That's not what they did. But that's what, they did some of that.
But the
But that's
Affordable
really
Housing
not what they
Trust
did.
can't spend anything without select board approval, so it kind of had another tier of oversight, whereas the select board wouldn't have.
Well, you're still gonna have to get approval from them too, yeah? I mean, you're still gonna get approval before you move forward. You've got your own checks and balances with town administration and the real estate office. I mean, you got plenty of hoops you gotta go through for either way, either project.
Is I can bring it back to. our
I know,
work
if y'all
group
don't wanna
with
do
Rick
it,
and
I'm
Brian.
just telling you.
I
That would
mean,
entice
you
me.
think like a voter?
That
I
would
just
entice
It's a
me.
standalone article that authorizes acquisition up to X. Oh, he's just not muted. Can you mute him?
Yeah.
I think Sue can,
Yeah, just put
Yeah.
Oh, just put them
right there. Yeah.
I didn't know I had that authority.
Oh, it doesn't look like you do.
I don't, see, Sue took it away.
Christine, can I ask you a question? Guys, so the police department housing out at Low Beach, you have nothing to do with that, is that right?
No, it has not been managed by the housing department.
Okay. As well as like airport housing?
That's managed.
All right, so when you talk about staff, when you talk about staff at those, you don't really have to worry about those. You're looking after everyone else that, so when a department does their own housing, is there any like consultation with you guys on your efforts compared to their efforts and how those work together? Otherwise, you have, two different sort of arms looking for housing. And, you don't have to worry about their housing, but I know that when it comes to, managers, obviously you guys are it, but
Right, so we're definitely with the creation of the housing department, streamlining and trying to bring everything under one umbrella. We've definitely worked at streamlining our employee license agreements, making sure those are the same between airport and the town. So we're all working together collaboratively, and we've had meetings with the school as early as this week, trying to help them with their approach. And so we're all working together to make it all.
So as far as a mission, what makes sense? Does it make sense for you guys to slim down and look at department specific and say, this is what we need for housing for this department, and this is where we're gonna help you with whatever land you've procured or have, as opposed to this general sort of housing thing?
Yeah, I guess the challenge there is, it's so fluid. So like at one point we could have a big need Like the fire and police did a lot of recruitment in the past couple of years, and now I want to say fully staffed, but they're really well staffed. And so right now we're seeing a lot more requests from teachers. So I feel like we're moving to where the need is. It would be hard to say like this is just for DPW employees or this is just for police officers.
Everyone's situation is forever
Yeah.
changing.
No, I know,
Oh, we are
I just wanted,
Someone could
Well,
leave
we're
a
looking
position
across-
tomorrow, and
Yeah, we're looking across all different things. And ultimately, like if the school was to ask for land for housing, like that goes to town meeting. It's all eventually going back to the taxpayer that is needing to fund the acquisition or construction of the housing.
yeah, so some departments can just say, we wanna try to find housing for our staff, and they go about it, and then they come to us and we discuss.
Like
but-
the airport
but-
did that.
Yeah.
Well, they're separate.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I know, and they did the dorm. I think that's kind of.
Anyway, I just wanted to understand the relationship better on departmental housing specific and housing effort, so.
yeah, it seems like the departmental ones are only the enterprise accounts that have
Yeah.
been really
Right.
truly.
And the sewer housing is
Well,
managed by
not
us.
Low Beach Road,
So is OIH.
Oh, I,
Please.
Yeah, the summer dorm.
Yeah, the dorms.
right, but, yeah.
May I, for a second? So Brian, respectfully, I don't mean to irritate you or anything like this, but I did now just read up on Brazzi, and you're 100% right. It was because of the control over the design and the financial arrangements. However, they said that if it was a true lease, it could be done. And if it was an indefinite use owner transfer, it could be done. And those two things made me worth exploring. And I wonder whether we can do that. That takes it to a third party to deliver a product to us. I think maybe cheaper.
I mean, I'm open to looking at anything, but at the end, we'll have to go through the entire process and do it, and I still,
Yeah. No,
I believe that I do believe if you frustrate one of the prongs that it precludes you, it is determined to be a project and.
Yeah, I do. It says that here, but it
I think
does-
that the issue that we would run into potentially, Howard, is the fact that the public funds would be essentially be used to be paying for construction, right?
well, under a true lease, not so. Under a indefinite use owner transfer, possibly. But it does say that that is a structure that can work here.
Yeah, I mean, the devil is in the details as with anything,
Yeah.
right? And it's not, I don't want you or the committee to think it's something that town administration would not be open to exploring.
Thank you.
Okay, I think it's important that everybody understands that it's just not as easy as the private sector going and doing something like this. I think it's more of what I'm trying to get across is that it's something that I think we could explore, but we have additional hurdles that the private sector doesn't have when it comes to these types of arrangements, which make them more
Yeah.
difficult in my mind to.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you took a true lease structure to the town for a meeting vote, I think it would be perceived much more favorably for a couple reasons. One, you're using other people's money, so we don't need to approve 6 or 7 or 10 or $15 million of warrants. We potentially could bring it in cheaper, and the private entity can benefit from the depreciation and other sorts of tax write-offs that they could get from operating this, which would bring the cost of the housing down. So I don't know what you want to do, but I'd be happy to help to look into this further. But I do think it's a viable option for economic reasons as well as for palatability to the voters.
and
Go
can
ahead.
I just respond?
Yeah, Christy, go ahead.
I really respect that idea, and we've looked at this, I feel like, a million different ways. I think one of the challenges is if we don't own it and manage it, we don't have control over the rental rates. And so, would be
Actually,
using
Christy,
people's
that's
money.
not true. That's not true. You can negotiate the leases upfront for long term.
They're gonna love you as a customer.
Well,
Right,
they're
you're
gonna do their financial analysis and see if it works for them or not. You
Yeah, I
can
just-
pre-negotiate the whole true lease upfront before the construction starts.
But like, would that be in perpetuity? Because it's like, if they give them 3 years at a great rate, that's awesome. But then it's
Yeah.
like 3 years later,
But-
they
It's all
decide.
part of it.
Whatever the developer or owner of that property would agree to. So that if that's the deal that you want to enter into and you go out and somebody's willing to do it, then the free market will allow it.
I think it's worth, again, bringing this back to our internal work group to discuss, that I just am concerned around not having that control, and not being able to, and to tell employees that you're gonna have.
There'd be one other issue that we would have to be able to navigate, to be honest with you as well, because the way this is proposed as a capital article with a borrowing authorization, it's because it's for capital construction costs. And under the arrangement that you're talking about, we'd be basically making an annual lease payment of some sort or some type of annual payment,
Yes.
which would be an operating cost, which
Yes.
statutorily we're prevented from borrowing for, which
Yeah.
would potentially I'm not going to say it will, but it could put additional strain on the operating budget and the levy limit as well. So there is a rational reason why
Yes.
this is kind of looking at, but I mean, it's something we can look at. I'm not saying we can't.
Brian, in my experience in this, that when you do this sort of lease, it is subject to annual appropriation. In other states that I worked
Yes.
in, and
It
so
would be.
but the owner of the property understands that he's dealing with a credit that's and that he will accept that risk, and that's what he prices for. So that's been done. I've done it, and it's worth looking at.
But the problem, not the problem, but the difficulty becomes that's an annual payment in the operating budget.
Yes.
It wouldn't be subject to, and I don't want to say we put everything outside the levy limit, but a construction project of this nature on a borrowing would be done as a debt exclusion, which would be outside the levy limit for the period of the time that the debt was issued, right? If we entered into that type of agreement, statutorily, I cannot borrow for what would be considered operating costs, so I would have to find the room at that value within the levy limit of what we have available on a go forward basis. So
Yes, you would, but you would also potentially be avoiding realizing lower costs on an annual basis than potentially what might otherwise be incurred if you were the owner of this. And we would avoid needing to come up with the capital cost to build the project. The town would have an operating expense, not a capital expense.
Yeah.
Sure. I think the only response to that is that it has to be in the operating budget, and
It does, yeah.
it's the operating budget is already, we've pulled almost all the levers that we can with this in terms of Prop 2.5.
appreciate
So
that. Yeah, I appreciate that.
I mean,
But
I don't want to dismiss the idea and say it's out of the realm of possibilities. It's certainly something we could look into and have to weigh the pros and the cons of it as well. So
yeah, okay.
Well, if I can make a comment about that, because that's a good point, Brian, but I think we're trying, but the other idea is just from a, optics level.
It's optics. Yeah.
This failed last year. So we're trying to come up with something to help you succeed. And I don't see anything here that's different than last year, other than the cost is lower.
Right.
Well, I think that the difference is that one of the reasons that I think that it failed at town meeting last year is because we did not have the more of a level of specificity in terms of a bid, because as Christie has noted, the plan is, because it's modular, it can move a little bit quicker. Just get the OPM, get the design firm, put it out to bid so that we have the bid for the lot that we would like to develop, which is the part of the $7 million ask, right? As a placeholder, and bid alternates for the other two lots so that we would go into town meeting. Because if I look at, in my mind, one of the reasons that it failed was when one of the members at town meeting, Ms. Bobby DeCosta, got up and talked about, do we have enough money? We didn't have bids then. We were going based on discussions with architects and OPMs on what we thought it would take to develop it. Okay. So to me, doing this process and going to town meeting with a bid in hand with a number, knowing what that cost is to construct develop that lot, and then have a more realistic, understandable number for the other two lots as bid alternates, not indicating we're going to accept them, but just merely have them as a benchmark for the project, for a better benchmarking process, I think will give the town a higher degree of potential success. in my opinion. I think the whole issue was that we were proposing developing 3 lots for 14 million and honestly couldn't adequately convey whether that was enough to develop them all or not.
Yeah.
Like
Brian, I
Robert,
think
different.
you're,
I think that's my view of what happened last year.
I think that's part of what happened, and that's a big part of what happened. But the schedule that Christie created that she sent to us about the other public projects that were funded for housing that the voters approved needs to be shared because I recall at the town meeting, people were like, well, we just approved $7 million. We just approved, X million dollars. Where are those projects? What happened to them? Did they ever get completed? Was it a good use of our money? And I think you need that chart that Christie prepared is another excellent tool for you guys to show to the voters that this money is just not going out the door and you're not watching it and you're not getting any results. So please use it.
We've been trying to find more ways to get the information out. Marketing is not our strong suit.
Christie, we probably should get moving on.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I know Howard has said he'll help look up this information. I know there's some landscapers in the area, myself, we got places to be. It's 2 days before stroll. I think we should probably move to the next.
Yeah, but
I
we've had Christie a couple times. She gave us a lot of information and I think it's good that Howard's got some other ideas because I really think this will fail. I just do. I'm sorry. That doesn't mean that I'm against it. I'm not, but this doesn't look.
We want to
different.
help it not fail. We'd like to see it
And
successful.
I think it would be really interesting to explore this and say, well, we're gonna do something really different. And that's how you're gonna separate yourself from the Affordable Housing Trust, because the money is still our tax money. It's all the same money. So you can't say, well, people have given a lot of money to the trust. They're doing great things. That doesn't mean that you can't do great things with more money, but I think people are getting a little like, hey, what's happening? That's all.
I understand where you guys are coming from.
Yeah.
We're trying to figure out like the best way to get this passed. And I would hate to pause, say, let's go this other direction and try to figure out if we can do this alternative approach and nobody bids. I mean, we put out 135, 137 Orange Street several times and we got one bid and they're needing a significant amount of funding from the Affordable Housing Trust to build it. So is there going to be somebody out there that's willing to build housing that's going to be at a rate that our employees can afford?
Well, you just told me that some of them it's gonna be some higher price employees apparently need some people making higher wages. So if you're a guaranteed customer, that's what I like the idea of guaranteed customer. That's what.
No, I get that, but I mean, look at what's being built on the market right now. 3 bedrooms are 6,500 to 8,000. Doesn't matter how much money you make with the town. Nobody can afford that.
I agree.
So we need to have some control. So I hate to delay this and again, run into a situation where we don't have something when leases expire. We're chasing a problem that's just getting harder and harder to fix. And if we pause now and say, let's go another direction, and then that fails too, I worry on this is what keeps me up at night
Well, we discussed strategies
Yeah.
last meeting about town meeting, and what you're proposing. I just think that those are very important. So they're all pretty valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks so much for the information. It was good.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you, Christie. That was really great
List
work.
of all the projects. It was excellent.
Yeah, we want to try to package it and help you get it done. It's important.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Sorry that took a while. You want to go fertilizer first?
Don't worry, we checked the round drop.
Yeah, it'll be fine. Very different topic.
Still talking about dirt.
Carefully not. Hopefully we're talking about. Managing vegetation on her. Hello.
Hey, Jeff, thanks for coming.
No problem. I know most of the questions we have, and I'll be here for the next item too.
Oh, good.
On the agenda, but I know most of the questions that
You can come up.
were sent to us, they can hang out. Related to kind of the request for.
We're so friendly. Happy to meet.
It was a fun time. Good productive discussion. Related to our request for the fertilizer education program. And kind of the renewed interest in this was a program that the town was running pre-COVID, kind of stalled out through COVID.
Okay, stop right there, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Because I watched some video that you all did at the land council, maybe 2016? Does that seem right?
15, 16.
Yeah, and Cormac was talking and introducing it. And so I did see a video and I was a little confused, like, is that town sponsored or you all just sort of worked together on that and? Or you all did the video and the town helped try to
So
get.
there was
people
kind
to
of a
show up.
collaboration time through there where that was going on and we had done some videos. I know you have most of the stars of these videos here.
Yeah, Mike, you were there.
Mike was there, Ben was there, Mark was in them. There's some need for obviously for updating and putting it into format that's a little bit better. The regulations do technically require some level of examination to gain a license by the regulations that have been passed. And really, I think when we looked at it, this program has kind of failed twice and for varying reasons. And I think when we looked at a little bit of a self-audit for what's there and what we hear when we get out and about is we were attacking the education portion to one of the groups and we were really not providing what we needed to probably the group that's more important in the end. And that's the folks that are hiring these folks to come do work and kind of arming them with information to have productive discussions. You know, I think a lot of times when we talked with landscapers and homeowners alike, talking about, you know, expectations and what people can expect, what program can be put together for folks to understand changes that they may or may not be seeing on their property because of management changes. We weren't capturing everything that we needed. And I think that's what kind of refreshed this idea for us to say, hey, let's kind of start from scratch. Let's develop something for the guys that are the applicators and the landscapers to understand how to do it responsibly and do it the right way. And 99% of the guys do a really good job and try their best, but also to arm those guys with some common language to go to the folks that they're working for to understand why it's important and understand what's there. But for when those folks have questions to say, here's a resource that you can go to, right? There's something that you can watch or you can share with your friends or, you know, for lack of a better example, when the Monomoy Civic Association gets together and meet, they can all watch it together, right? And everyone's using the same words and the same language and really trying to do something cohesive. And I think the other big misstep that we had the first couple times this went, which is hopefully what this attempt will really lean to, is we need to do a better job up front as the town in bringing in both those groups to develop what those programs would be, right? Like, what can we develop to help you guys? And I think that was kind of the genesis of that idea, because I think we want people to be successful and be able to do these things. We understand the impacts to environmental health and how these things can also benefit environmental health, way, how fertilizer can help by managing vegetation, but doing it responsibly and doing it the right way. And I think we would like to programmatically, and this is a little bit of a Jeff Carlson wish, I would love to move away from a narrative of, you know, green lawns equals brown harbors and all of these things and say, Nantucket as a community is together because we understand the impacts and how we can do it together and not be divisive. I think hopefully this gets to that and also develops that exam that the regulations require, but it's then something that these guys can go around and say, I've passed my test, right? I have proof that I've done it and I've done it in accordance with the rules. And that's there. And I know that the request for the amount is pretty vast. I mean, we hopefully Sue sent it around and put together kind of a larger breakdown recently. We looked long and hard for comparable programs and other contracts for not just fertilizer, but other environmental issues with the same kind of thing to make sure that we weren't over budgeting or under budgeting, but we were going to put together what we thought we'd be needed to put a two-pronged approach together. And not for nothing, and I'll let these guys all speak for themselves. I think the fact that professionals are coming in to talk about it, hopefully in favor of the idea, shows that there's an interest and a want to make this happen and get this back on track.
Sorry, is there anyone that does it somewhere else that you like their program that you can? I mean, inevitably, I'm always like, who else is doing this, or is there somebody?
Well, I mean, I could sort of, if you don't mind, I could just make a couple of like bigger picture background comments about sort of being here and our support for the proposal. And I don't know, I won't spend too much time on this. I don't know how much the committee has sort of looked at or is aware of the history of the regs, but it's definitely my opinion that the development of Nantucket's fertilizer regulations is probably one of the best examples we have of like a consensus-driven community process. And I think after the proposed fertilizer ban in 2009, when the work group was created to look at regulations for fertilizer, it consisted of industry leaders like the folks who are here today, the environmental organizations, town representatives, community at large, working with soil scientists and other university reps from New England. And the regulations and best management practices that were created and then promulgated under the Board of Health were really intended to be the science-based approach at how to manage and apply fertilizer on Nantucket in a way that protects our water resources. And I think, I mean, ultimately the success of those regulations and the BMPs depends totally on the effectiveness of the education and licensing program that the regulations themselves actually require. And I think we have some of the best, if not the best, fertilizer regulations in the state. I think that the probably the proposed ban that we saw a few years ago was, my guess is that that came out of community frustration that there wasn't a strong program of education and licensing being implemented. So that was probably seen as like an extreme alternative. But I think that we have regulations and practices that we can work with that I think a lot of the industry leaders are really supportive of. And it's just a matter of I'm here and as an organization supporting this because I just think it's definitely time for the town to prioritize it again and find a way to work with these good regulations that we do have. I mean, for obvious reasons, I think managing fertilizer is some of the lowest hanging fruit as far as nutrient management on the island. So just as far as like generally why I'm here and we're here, and I can't speak to the costs of the program and the budget of it per se, but I did just want to make sure that the committee knows that there is really strong community support to get this going again on the part of the town. And certainly we're, as you heard, we have been partnering as we can with educational opportunities previously and are always willing to going forward to be supportive. And I think that, as Jeff said, like there's kind of two different tracks. There's like landscaper education and licensing under the regulations to make sure that everyone who's out there applying knows what they're supposed to be doing. And then there's also property owner education to sort of understand why it's important. So maybe I'll leave it at that and let some of these guys jump in too. I do have a letter that I can email you too that I'll leave you with, because I actually reached out to a bunch of our partner organizations and I have about 9 others who signed on, including the Chamber of Commerce, a lot of the environmental orgs that are supportive of seeing this program redesigned and rebuilt too. So I can leave you with some of those and email it to you as well.
Right, yeah, definitely email to us. So yeah,
I'll say, a lot of this, well, this did start in 2010. The collaboration that Emily was talking about is the Article 68 work group. And it was an amazing experience. We had people from, like Emily said, all kinds of environmental groups. I think 3 of us were on that group. SHAB representative. So it was pretty awesome. And when the regulations became law, they were, and still I think maybe are, the most strict in Massachusetts. And then we had a couple other advisory groups.
Mhm.
As Jeff said, it failed twice, and there, like Jeff said, probably a few different reasons for that. But usually it's centered around funding. And I think that's what's been really lacking with the program. Many times Jeff and the department's hands are just tied.
So if that,
When you get, I'll be next.
sure, sorry, Chrissy. So when you, for funding, is that because there has been zero funding for this, or? You know, this is more about like, you're gonna build something from scratch, it sounds like.
Mhm.
Yeah, and you kind of just don't know what some of these things are gonna cost, right?
I mean, I think we have a pretty good handle on what some of them will cost. I mean, there's a lot of, services for these things are not hard to find and price out to some degree for what we think it's gonna be. I think what's led to it in funding before is it's either happened through, donations or some early licensing fees. There's never been a really big dedicated, like general fund expenditure to the fertilizer program, right? It's
Oh, so you've never had a line item in the budget for it though?
no, and it's come forward a few times. The first educational program, the long, like, full day, UMass session that was at Nantucket Hotel was funded through the land council primarily, and then the university with some discounted rates. The second time, those videos, we had some money, right? This is a Board of Health regulation, so the Board of Health kind of kicked in. And the land council again stepped up, and Mike and Mark and Ben donated their time to do it. And that's how it kind of was. And I just think, right, like, I've been involved with a lot of programs through the town, through the years. Programs that come together that way just typically don't work because there's just not the resources behind it to get it over the hill, right? Like, it's a nice start and it's a nice way to engage a certain group, but as soon as it needs to spread from that initial thing, it's just difficult to do. But then it's also difficult to go get funding when you really don't have a lot to show as resources to go get additional funding. So I think that's where this comes in. I think once it gets going and gets a little critical mass to it, between license fees, when we first put this together, right, and when the Article 68 group was in 2010, Natural Resources Department didn't even exist, right? So our budget has changed radically. Our staffing services have changed radically. I think there are ways for us to help support doing this through kind of existing appropriations and staffing that we didn't have the first couple times.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't think, right, in hindsight, and it's not the most fun thing to say, we weren't ready to take this on when the community wanted us to do it the first couple times, just for a lot of different reasons. I think now, between staffing resources, between health and natural resources, community interest in water quality, I think we do now with kind of the proper thing to kick it off again. And I think that's what we're asking to try to build.
Okay. Christy?
So I'm not too familiar with all this, but I know you guys are. So seems like we're in good hands. But my questions are, it seems like, just from the light things that I read, that the homeowner is always, it doesn't seem like the homeowner is ever really involved. I'm pretty sure they are, but it just seems like we've been trying to do this without the homeowner. We're just doing it within ourselves. That's my observation. That's just what it feels like. That's what it looks like. So I'm curious to know how you guys engage the homeowner to do what you are trying to accomplish. My other question is, other than what the community knows of the harbor, the big issue of the water and the ponds that we're trying to clean up, what other things are the nutrient loading affecting? Like, what else around the island should we be looking at and be cognizant that this is what it is also affecting? Not just the harbor, not just scallops, because that's sort of the top tier that I see, because as I said, I'm not too up on it, but And then Jeff, my last question was, I don't see any out year funding. Is there out year funding, or is it so premature to really not know what that is yet?
I don't think, yeah, I think to answer the second question first, I don't think without knowing what the upkeep run will be, I don't think we know that answer quite yet, right?
Mhm.
This is just kind of that initial build. I think some of that upkeep funding will probably move into being more of an operational expense than it is like a capital
Got
expenditure.
it.
So we'll probably budget it that way. Again, there will hopefully at some point be, some level of license fee brought in to help sustain the program and materials to some degree. And again, I think between health and natural resources, we have a lot more departmental resources to help sustain things and continue outreach and do those things. Going forward, to kind of get to the first question, and hopefully I'll remember all of it. Because there was a lot to it, is, water quality is really critical for a lot of things out here, right? It's not just as simple as, algal blooms and harmful algal blooms and the health of shellfish and the health of things, but it's our surface water bodies are where all of our downstream impacts land, right? So any practice that we do on land ultimately is going to end up in those. And so, it's really that signal to us that maybe what we're doing on this piece of property or farther inland property needs to be improved for nutrients to protect things like groundwater, to protect surface water, protect aquatic habitats. If aquatic habitats break down, you can see things like, increased erosion by loss of aquatic habitats that help buffer that, and other coastal impacts, and the ability to, deal with floodwaters. And we can go through the whole run about how that works. I think the issue really is, to kind of get to the first part, how you engage homeowners is always the trick. And I think part of that is, creating a credibility for what you're doing. And it's not dissimilar to what we see for, work in anything that we do, where, we're not just water quality, we're talking about resiliency and erosion and coastal flooding and how that affects people's homes, and building that credibility. So when we are trying to develop programs to help people with flood insurance or help people with erosion control, it's something we have to do. And it's something we didn't do with this program. We leaned, and I think the landscapers would agree, we really put, 99% of the burden on program compliance on those guys. And
On the landscapers.
Yeah. And it didn't work, right? And understandably so. I think now in 2025, the outreach footprint that we have as a town for environmental issues is very different than what it was in 2010 and 2015, where a lot of these issues that people see, right? People see, flooding, people see erosion, people see, harmful algal blooms, where like Sacajah Pond was closed for essentially an entire year because we had a harmful algal bloom in the pond, right? People have seen those impacts and understand that they're being measured and management options are going on to help mitigate those. So I think there's kind of an interest in engaging. There's a lot of other side groups that have sprouted up beyond just, and, to their credit, in 2010, the Land Council was kind of the lone wolf in this for, NGOs that were involved, outside of, private citizens that were involved. That dynamic has changed. We get a lot of requests to now go and speak to, homeowner groups and civic groups, just in natural resources last year. I think we went to like 14. So it's, the outreach is a lot bigger and better than it was. So I think there's a capacity for it. Again, I think it's also how you put together engaging materials that people understand, to at least say, like, I mean, I think at the end of the day, if you could leave with someone to really say, ooh, I should talk to Ben about what's happening on my property, because this seems important, right? That's a huge win for just someone to do that, because not everyone does that.
No, Joe, that's a good answer. I mean, it totally makes sense. I mean, the credibility of a plan,
Well, I
Great,
think
good
what
input.
sounds important is that you've got the pros reaching out to other landscapers instead of people feeling they're just being scrutinized or.
Well, I think it's just a more comprehensive oversight for the whole industry and the whole practice of, using fertilizer. And what we had some great forward progress with this. We had, like Emily was saying, we had an incredible set of regulations. What we just kind of hit the wall with was getting, again, like the community on board, the homeowners, basically having the town really backing this up and having the resources to license, check properties. If we can call in and say, hey, listen, I saw somebody downtown, they obviously they were doing this at the wrong time of the year. They were, spraying fertilizer all over the road, there were plenty of things that we would consistently call about in the industry. And they're just, Jeff's, you were putting out fires and trying to run the natural resources department and the Concom and everything else. There just wasn't enough resources to do it. But I think the biggest thing was really having a holistic approach to this and not really relying on just the industry to say, we want to do this because it's the right thing. We do want to do it because it's the right thing, but we also want to know that it's sort of an accredited program that, ultimately gives everybody the credibility to be doing this. Because it's a big issue, like the water quality in Nantucket is perhaps one of the biggest issues anywhere. It's a
I have a
finite,
really dumb question.
Yeah,
I mean,
really, sure.
Dumb, basic. So when we used to have a lot of sheep here.
A lot of sheep.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of grass, a lot of sheep. I don't think they were using fertilizer.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the grass is gone.
And there's
Yeah.
actually a lot of legacy phosphorus and nutrients in the ponds that could have come from some of that livestock
Yeah,
historically.
Nitrogen's nitrogen when it's up. Like we use a slow release product, which just to go back in 2015 when we started, they were like, this is great, but this product is commercially, it's just not available. So we actually had a supplier that stepped up to the plate and developed it. And there's still just a few suppliers to do it. And then to answer Christie's question, when customers talk to me, they just want, for the most part, to be honest, they want to know that somebody knows what they're doing. They're like, they're relaxing at 100 miles per hour here. Like they're in for the weekend or for the summer or whatever. And they're certainly not professionals at it. They want to know that somebody's responsibly sticking to the guidelines, using the right products. And it delivers a very nice lawn in the period that we're permitted to do it, which has to do with soil temperatures and things like that.
Yeah.
But there's some criteria that it's not necessarily an easy thing to do, to have great results.
Right.
Yeah, it takes education, it takes certain products, it takes timing of the year, it takes, it's detailed, which is where the educational program really comes in.
Yeah. I think I'm a golf course manager. These guys are they're dealing with the homeowners. These three guys are really good. And there are other guys that are really, really good. But there are, some guys that probably need to be educated a little bit more. And that's what doesn't exist right now. It did for a while, and then we lost it.
And the
That's what's
turnover,
interesting to me is that you felt like you had it, I don't want to say under control, but that it used to be better than it is now.
There's nothing that exists right now. I
Yeah.
mean, the regulations are still in the books, but there's really nothing going on.
There was definitely initial momentum for sure. And I think the industry was sort of watching as things were developed and launched, and then there was sort of a peter out with resources. Just a real quick follow up on what Ben and Jeff were saying about homeowner education now too. I mean, coming from my perspective as a nonprofit where this is sort of like our mission in our world, I definitely would agree that I think there's just a lot more interest and awareness now on the part of property owners. to a large degree, and then also the community in general. And I think that's another valuable point to make about like the partner organizations that I have also supporting this on my letter, which I'll send to you. One of the reasons that I sort of pulled all of those folks together around this issue of clean water is because we have overlapping memberships, but we also serve a lot of different people. And I think there's a huge opportunity there from the sort of nonprofit community to help get the word out, the education out to sort of our membership and members as well, in more of a coordinated, universal way, based on, you know, the program that the town develops. So I think there's, again, a lot more resources even for like community property owner education than there were.
Pleasant.
I think that like, yeah, and this isn't really a question, more just like a statement. Like as a personal homeowner, I think about fertilizer and what's being used on my property, but I have no idea like where the first place is to get any information. So I think it would be great if there's something easy to understand to share with people. And then it's something that you can use in the future. So it's like something that can be used and we don't need to make new social media posts or information packets. So I feel like it would be useful.
And in terms of, I know Jeff touched on it, but offsetting the license fees can be evaluated, reevaluated. That money goes back into the general fund, so it's not all just money out.
Yeah, how much are those license fees?
They're $100. But
And
they're good for 3 years. They should be annual.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what if-
No,
what if
no,
you
but
did-
I'm just saying, I'm just saying that like the landscapers, golf courses can afford it. We do it for the state anyway.
Yeah.
And also, sorry guys, if I'm speaking out of turn, but
Dude, all
also,
that here.
but also continuing education should be paid for too. Not a big
Yeah.
fee, but $25, $50.
Like for the smaller people, sorry, Christie, for the smaller landscape companies or something, I mean, why don't you waive the fee if they take your class? If you develop a program, like, I don't know, but they still get their license, they've taken the class and.
Or like the first time you do it, it's free.
I think
Or
there's such a, sorry to interrupt, but I think there's such a low cost of entry into this.
Yeah.
industry,
Yeah.
like,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it could be
just-
credit based.
It's a lot of fees, some of these.
Yeah.
You don't have to license every.
And they make, they
You
probably.
only have to have it under your.
Like that.
Have it under like whoever the applicator is. So
Okay.
like companies don't have like universal applicators across, not everybody's an applicator.
No.
I mean,
Yeah, well, they're not
We
supposed
tend to find that
to.
most of the larger companies historically have licensed, I would say, 3 to 5 people, and they might employ 30 or more.
Yeah,
And the
gotcha.
smaller ones are licensed.
I'm thinking every person that.
One or two.
The crew has to get one, okay. Christie,
Is it Mark?
Yes.
I just want to pick up on something Mark said. You know, you have, most are quite good, but there are some that need more education. So for the program, for this to work, right? And you rely on education, it's still voluntary, correct? It would be still voluntary, or is there any component of, and I hate to use the word enforcement, but is there any component of enforcement so that you have across the board, people that are, you know, following the rules?
Yeah, I mean, enforcement will be obviously a tool that will have to be used. I'll say for enforcement and kind of purposes, right? Like, I think Ben touched on it earlier. When it first came in, there was like -1 people to enforce for what there's there. Just in our department alone, you know, we would have upwards of 3 or 4 people now that could be out and about on a daily basis. A lot of it's driven by, you know, we get a fair amount, or we used to get a fair amount of calls for like, hey, we see guys that are applying. We don't believe they're licensed. Can you come check them out? And you can certainly go respond to those. And there are some issues with that. But I think between kind of patrolling isn't always super efficient, but I think it's necessary to a degree for people to know that you're out and about. Between that and some level of self-reporting that you get, I think word gets around that's there. And honestly, and for better or for worse, one of the good things that came out of COVID is we finally have a pretty reliable contact list for most of the landscapers on the island because
Yeah.
most of them registered to get back to work for COVID. And we try to keep that up to date. And it's a transient group and there are
Yeah.
companies that come and go every year for sure. And there are a lot of guys that, you know, work for someone during the day and then moonlight on the weekends for themselves or for other folks for smaller jobs for sure. But I think, again, if it's out there that it's happening and it's going on, those guys are going to want to come in and participate to stay under the radar, right? They don't want to be flagged or have the guys be like, Natural Resources has stopped dead 6 times in the last, 2 weeks. Like, they don't want to do that. It doesn't.
Well, then they're definitely gonna wanna come in and get trained.
So it's easy to do, like, I also think kind of redoing how we were doing training and understanding that there's some hurdles to how we're doing it before, right? Like, I don't think we would probably choose to do it at the police station again. So there are lots of,
Yeah.
lots of issues in that, right? Like, the only space available at the time, right? So, lots of things are there and honestly, to kind of.
Finish license while you're at it though, Jeff.
You certainly could. I think we would love to have some way to be able to, even if it's not to come in for the exam, to be able to get a hold of the materials online at any time, right? So even if, to keep picking on Ben because he's sitting next to me, Ben has new guys that starts that he doesn't want to necessarily go take the exam or get certified. They can still watch it, right? And they can see like, this is what's going on and this is why we're doing the things we're doing.
Yeah.
Or all of those things. I mean, honestly, for what it's worth, when we talk about water quality stuff, our big 3 that we always manage are wastewater, so septics and sewers, impervious surface runoff and overland flow, so that's like stormwater and other things, and fertilizers are like the big 3 for any of our surface water bodies. Those are the 3 major components. And for what we have invested in for wastewater management and probably what's coming for stormwater management, $500,000 to put together a program for education and then be reliant is like getting off on the cheap for 1/3. And
We can do it now.
Yeah, and it's realistic and I don't think it has the same problems that it has had in the past. Was not that way.
And I just want to drop one last point that the education component is never going to go away because the turnover rate of the staff, it's a young person's business. They're, even if you got somebody for 5 years or more, that's a pretty quick. I mean, we started 15 years ago and here we are still talking about it. So the education component is just always going to be present if there's going to be success with the program.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, I would love to at some point, this will be a different request later, but would love to get something like this, like into the school, right? Like to biology classes and science classes there and kind of a bridge version. So when those folks head out into the workforce, they're going to get into landscaping. They're like, oh, we really got to be paying attention to this, or we know there's a licensing program, right? Or they can go home and say, hey, mom and dad, you know that you guys need to be licensed to apply that stuff, right? Like it's an immeasurable benefit to try to catch all of those age groups. And hopefully some of these things can lead to that.
So I guess my only other question, and we can let you go. I really appreciate y'all coming. We're flattered. We don't get so many people to show up here, right? But, we just talk about fertilizer. Are there other things that you concerned about that you can encapsulate in that education? I really can only speak to my experience with my clients and stuff. I don't fertilize my lawn and everyone's like, you have clover in there and my landscaper thinks it looks terrible. I was like, I like it.
I have first lawn in Naw Shop. I don't fertilize mine either. So,
I live on a farm. We don't fertilize our lawn either. I look terrible. So
But we had red thread from mowing and I did not like that. That was terrible. But are there other things that you can include, so maybe it's not so, I don't know, just educate people about other things that are happening, and it's kind of what Christy was saying, I think, about.
So the
Other
easy
hazardous
answer to that
materials?
is yes, and I don't want to sound cheesy by saying that answer, but for all of these things, right? It's about developing credibility and public trust, because we have so many programs that aren't just about water quality, or they aren't just about erosion or doing those things. But to establish that relationship with people, for they know where to go for the answers, right? Like I joke with my kids where my job is to help keep the outside as nice as possible. I'm sure everyone's heard me say that, is we want to have this to a point where people are like, I have a question about the outside. I know right where to go to start that question. Because they know, like, oh, we'll go talk to the natural resources folks. And anytime that we can get in to talk about, and I guarantee this will happen. If we take a fertilizer video or training session to a group of homeowners, I will bet dollars that most of the questions will not be related to fertilizer. They'll be about something else
Yeah.
that comes up. Half the time it's about, hey, my neighbor 2 doors down decided they wanted to, like, do they need permits? Like, that stuff comes up. But we're there, right? And we can answer those questions, and, you know, we can develop resources for other programs to point people to. This is really another avenue for us to get a foot in the door for something that's desperately needed, and also to develop something to get a better relationship with the folks that are managing the outside for the, you know, the landscape community, because they're important users, you know, to have that relationship where we can say, what are you guys seeing? What are you guys hearing? And it's a comfortable back and forth for everyone. Just wants us to plant Leland cypresses, and they're really just a maintenance headache. What can we do to help with that? It's not necessarily a fertilizer issue, but it's well, let's try to find something different, right?
Mhm.
We just want to build those.
I didn't want to know there was something like that, not that exact question, but I was like, oh, it's just.
I only mentioned that because I did get that question, like 2 days ago. But
Well, and if I could just jump in too, I think that there's lots of opportunities, especially when the town has sort of the established relationship with the landscapers to help support continuing ed programs on either invasives management or pesticides use or native species, or, you know, any number of
Yeah,
things
I
that could also
totally
be
agree.
offered, even if they're not required.
I think it would be great if that got included. I do. You gotta name it some cool name too, like, you know, you're speaking my language with grassroots, like I love grassroots outreach, so.
The pesticide part is all regulated by the state, but this could still be a springboard to say like, you need your state license if you're a commercial applicator.
And we actually worked with DAR to offer credits to applicators and
Right.
ask for
Oh, yeah.
workshops. that
No,
we
those
put
are
on.
great when you do, because
Yeah.
so much cheaper than going off island.
Yeah.
Which a lot of that education is even done online now too, which.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say I haven't been to something in.
I know, and I was going to mention that because I think that the test and some of the education is online, and, or at least gonna be part of this. And it's not cheap. So $500,000 to me doesn't sound like much. I mean, it doesn't sound like a ton of money, because when we were trying to develop a test, we ran into some serious like regulatory hurdles. Like it was time consuming, expensive. And so in our regulations, I'll be honest with you, they're not easy necessarily to understand.
Right.
And they're sometimes not easy to create a product that your clientele wants.
Yeah.
So education is important, but the cost of that education, the cost of the licensure, and the test.
Yeah. I mean,
that's
in
not
the
cheap for the town to.
in the detailed breakdown, the most expensive segment is the test.
Mhm. And especially because it's gonna have to be in different languages and the education.
I think
Madam
that
Chair?
cybersecurity test was really hard. I'm not gonna lie. So you gotta be careful with this test.
No, that's the thing, right? Is you can't develop a test that it has to pass the scrutiny of being a non-exclusionary or discriminatory test for factors other than the knowledge being tested on.
Right. Sue, did you have something? I think we're.
Yeah, I'm so sorry to interrupt. I'm not sure everybody had identified themselves, that is speaking. That's with Jeff. I don't, just for the minutes, I have to have
So
names.
if it's easier, Sue, I'll email you everyone's names.
Yeah, that'd be
So
great,
you
because
can-
of the minutes, I have to identify everyone, and everyone spoke, so they should have been, they actually.
I'll tell you those so you can get the spelling right, Tim. I'll send it to you.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Right? Okay.
Like I don't predict your spelling Ben's last name.
It's helpful. I think for me, it's not really that it's so expensive. It's that we have $260 million that we're looking at, so everything had to get scrutinized.
Of course.
So it was great that you all came.
Yeah.
Thanks for playing.
As you said, points for bringing, members of the public for like first head.
What's that?
It's because you're a grassroots guy, Jeff.
Well, when we're talking about growing grass, so that's really.
That's what I'm saying. You gotta name this a good group that people are gonna wanna go. You gotta like get them out. Get him, get him some beer.
Thanks, you guys, for.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Very much.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you waiting. Sorry about that.
I understand.
Okay, Jeff, I can make this CRA thing quicker for you if you want to, because I'll.
Sure, I'm happy to, and I know Leah's here too.
Hi, Leah.
Yeah, right.
Because I saw the presentation last night. Did you all, real quick, the committee, you all really need to watch last night's select board, like on every level. I think a lot of things came up, and then next. OIH came up,
Really long.
it's really long. I hope you're watching it.
Like 4 hours and 10 minutes.
Okay, I watched the first.
It was
episode.
4 hours. It was a 4 hour meeting.
We went till 10 o'clock.
It was.
It was really,
4.5 hours.
I think it's like
it was tough.
We
But
had a meeting that long, a long time.
it was tough, and I'm sorry today's meeting has taken so long too, guys, but, so really everyone needs to watch that, and there's, CRAC and OH, and next week there's gonna be budget and capital that Brian's gonna take to select board, I think, next Wednesday, so you're gonna wanna watch that as well.
Okay.
And that way we can make sure our list matches up with his too, but I think we pretty much have the list, so you guys can start doing your rankings. Okay, on CRAC, Jeff.
Yes.
You all have quite a bit of authorized money left. I think you got some grant money, and so you didn't spend a lot of your money.
Yes and no, but yes is the short answer.
So I think you have like $3.8 million left. That's authorized.
It is, I think some of that is obligated towards projects that are headed in or in some varying part of the procurement cycle right now.
Okay, well
I
then
think-
that's what I don't have, is that
No,
information.
I think if it's easier, and Leah has her hand up, so I'll let her answer when I misspeak
Okay.
here. But I was gonna say, I think we've been trying to do a little bit more of a like detailed accounting for all of that and where it's obligated and planned to going. And I think that's
Okay.
something that we can put together, but I'll let Leah answer that a bit more too.
Sure. Leah, go
Hi.
ahead.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Yes, so it does look like we have, $3.8 million left. But I do want to say that a lot of that is going to be allocated towards certain projects, and I'm happy to send that over to you if that's helpful. But some of those examples are the Easy Street Flood Mitigation Project. We let's see, at last town meeting, I think it was like 2.4 million got allocated. But after, a couple months and realizing that we need more data and more surveys to answer questions that the select board came up with and the community, that's over budget. That's going to be over budget by $500,000. So that's where the coastal resilience planning money really comes in, because that flexibility in order to be able to keep these projects going and not, stop and have to wait another year to ask for more money at town meeting is important. We also have to put together a groundwater table rise model, and that'll probably cost, I'm guessing, around 300,000 or so. Again, that's to help with the Easy Street project, Francis Street project, really our whole downtown area, to figure out what time frame is groundwater table going to come to the surface, which exacerbates flooding and can cause real problems to our roads and our critical infrastructure.
We don't have anything like that now. I mean, we have
We do
flooding
not.
now. We know it floods.
What we know it floods, but most of the flooding that we see now is related to either tidal flooding. But I think what Leah's talking about is the actual like aquifer lens that's beneath the ground is getting closer to the surface as
Okay.
sea level creates pressure on it. That's gonna start to break through in certain tidal cycles sooner than later. And we're trying to determine when that's gonna be. And some of these changes too have come up because, right, like these projects, and Easy Street's a really good example of it, is everyone's involved, right? Like that's an all hands project, right? Planning's involved, there's historical structures involved, stormwater's involved, there's utilities in the road. It's these big multi-departmental projects, and sometimes there are projects in those little silos that all feed into it. And in this case, there were works on stormwater for this project, and from their end, they've had other priorities that have come in, so that responsibility for that aspect of the project is shifting. So that's something that we have to now pick up and incorporate into this scope to go through. So there's a little bit of maneuvering because there are other higher priorities for them, but this project is a high priority that's here. So it's a little bit of internal shifting. And again, these funds have created a lot of flexibility. I think the other thing that's been really nice for these is we've been able to, kind of leverage a lot of these funds as far as grant matches and grant opportunities. I mean, the grant that we got for this project originally, we would not have been able to get, except for the fact that we were able to clearly demonstrate that we could provide between a $125,000 and $150,000 match.
Yeah.
And that was these funds. So it's immeasurably helpful. And I think the part that we could be doing better, and it was interesting to listen to it for the housing part. I think we need to do a better job collectively of providing, kind of a transparency update, like more regular, like this is what's happening. And this is what all of it has gone for people to see and understand. Because I know we know what all of it's obligated for, what it's being used for, but some way to get back to you guys and then also get it up for the public. I know some of our new project management software will hopefully help with that, but I think even in the interim, just little reports will be helpful.
Christy.
Yeah, I mean, and that's part of, for this committee specific is my having that relationship and better understanding and what those are. That came up this year. I think you might have mentioned it, Jill. It'd be nice to know, where are these funds getting, how are these funds getting used? What's the quality of the funds that we allocate?
Yeah.
With that said, this is a, annual $1 million, request. It's easy to compare this to a, annual, say, cobblestone or sidewalk request. But
But they're not using their money either.
But this is the thing. This is I've always said, this is probably the only fund that I've been like, if funds accrue, it's probably okay because we know it's going to get used and we know that the flexibility is there. It's far different than, cobblestones and sidewalks as far as, because that was strictly a manpower issue. I think the value of the funds, for the coastal resiliency through admin, I think are just extremely valuable. I don't look at the balance like I would if it was sidewalks. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I disagree with you, but I hear what you're saying. I mean, sidewalks sometimes need emergency funding, so.
It's there. Though the thing is, it's there. It's not depleted, but when you're talking large balances, I just think the quality of the funds that are in coastal resiliency have a value that sidewalks or cobblestone does not.
Yeah, well, they even have more money than the roads and sidewalks do at the moment.
I know.
But he's saying it's obligated, but I haven't seen that. So for me, honestly, I'm not gonna rank this until I have the list. I don't think we should until we know like what it is that you've already spent that money for, so that's like the next. I mean, that's just basic here, which I think we've asked
Madam
for
Chair,
that.
I'm happy to do that. Can I just talk a little bit more about like what Christy had just touched on? So coastal planning costs.
I don't want you to think that we don't know that you haven't done a lot of work. That's exactly what we want to see is what the money went to show that it paid for the work that you did.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
really important to me.
Absolutely. But I just want to say, like, from year to year for coastal planning, coastal resilience projects, it's not like a steady amount that is spent every single year because some years for permitting, engineering, like those are going to cost a lot more than the initial planning. And so to be able to have that reserve is really important. And then it allows us to respond quickly to things that happen that we don't know that's going to come up. So for example, we're going to have to relocate the intersection at Manicat Road and Ames Avenue. Where's that money going to come from? We have coastal resiliency planning money, which will help with that construction and, you know, those damaged costs and all of that. So just having the flexibility and then touching more on the grants that Jeff had talked about, all of these grants are reimbursable. So you have to have the money up front before you can actually put in for the reimbursement. So that's where this funding is super helpful. And because we've had this funding act as seed money, I've been able to get almost over $1 million of grant money to our community because of that.
Oh, I know you have, Leah. That's why you have so much left over in authorizations. I saw the spending list. I mean, I saw the finance report on it. So I was really impressed with that.
Yeah.
I
And then,
was.
sorry, just one more point is when it comes to construction grants, generally you have to have 20% matching. So if we're talking about a 10 million construction grant, there's no way for us to get that $2 million through capital request because you have to show that before you even apply for the grant that you have that money available for the matching. And there's no mechanism within the town, within the state to be able to come up with that $2 million like right off the bat. So I understand that, you know, you said that there's a lot of money still left, but that money is actively being managed. And it's also, you know, just not for the natural resources to use, it's for other departments that are working with coastal resiliency as well. So,
Yeah. Oh, no,
but
I
yeah,
don't,
happy
I
to
don't
put that
believe
list
that.
together
I know
with
that
the
flies
estimates.
at more 30,000.
We can all agree that we need more transparency and that's something that the department can do.
Crack has asked for something similar too, so.
Pardon?
Crack has asked for something similar.
Yeah.
Too, so I don't think that's.
But clearly the balance has more of a critical value than it does sitting in a sidewalk fund. I mean, we all know that, I mean, coastal resiliency items are only gonna get, no, they're only gonna, things are only gonna get more expensive, you know, so it's, you know, I don't know, I just think it's.
Even with costs coming down.
I think
Yeah,
it's great. There just has to,
Yeah,
I'm just sorry, there has to be some accountability about what the money went to. I've seen some,
But
but
that's why we agreed to, we all agreed.
great. Well, then let's get the list, but I don't think we should rank it till we get the list. So that'd be my recommendation to the committee. Just wait. But, and we're to that point where we're kind of finished. We only have like one more meeting, I think. Leah, thanks for getting on and explaining all that. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
And I'm
Happy
sorry,
to
I
come
know
back
it's tedious to
anytime.
put all that stuff together, but there were other people that didn't do it either.
Well, in fairness, we have most of it together. We just
Yeah,
need to put it.
I've been working on it for probably a year, so it's in
Yeah.
all in an Excel file.
Sometimes it's taking it off the napkin and getting it to something that people can look at and understand, you know?
Yeah. I'll dumb it down for us for sure.
I don't
Okay,
see our working files most of the time because they.
this meeting ran long, so we can, Jeff, was there anything else that you were?
No, thank you for.
Okay, yeah, no,
Thank
if
you.
you wanted to add anything, you. I was gonna have us go over Rory, we could do it next week, I don't know. We really only have the school left and I don't know when they'll make a decision, either in the next couple of weeks. So we can,
What were you gonna say about it?
about what?
Do you wanna give a 5-minute thing on Rory?
Oh, well, we could rank something together now, or we could do it at a later meeting if you guys tried to do the ranking. Or I can sit with one of you and go over and show you how I do it. We have time to meet next week on Tuesday and Thursday. I'm not planning to do both of those. Cause I don't think we need it. So
Yeah, I could do Tuesday, I'm away Thursday.
would you guys want to just meet Tuesday and say, hey, we'll do a quick 30 minutes and go through these?
What time were we meeting? Cause it's something at 1:30.
At what time?
1:30.
We just have it for 2, but we could probably make it 3 if it's only.
I mean, I could be here by 2.
I'm sure Brian can help you
Probably,
figure out
yes.
your words.
Well, I've done them before.
Well, they are a
But
little
I know they're
different.
a little different.
Jeff,
Thanks,
thank you.
Jeff.
No problem.
Thanks a lot. and thank
I have
you.
to sneak out.
I
Yeah,
don't know if you're,
On my
I haven't
next-
seen
my
anything.
next one of that.
I'm
So
flexible, so if we want, I can do.
I think it was just important that Brian can tell us, I mean, like you said last week, it needed to be consistent on a couple of those, or one of them in particular.
He did it with spell what?
That we were consistent on one of them.
A little
Oh, yes,
discrepancy.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like I was going over the population one, is it for the whole island, is it a subset, like that one is a little tricky,
Okay.
you know? But again, it's kind of up to you how you wanna, do you wanna say that that's important or not?
With that said, just a comment before I forget.
It is different.
It is, I'm sure,
It is.
I would say, because we review this at the end of each year. It's never too soon to like make notes for discussion at the end of the season.
Yeah.
You know, if there's something's not is weird, make a note because then we can discuss it.
Because you can go through and you can word everything and then not submit it and then like write notes on like each one.
You can save it as a draft if you want
And
to.
then you can-
You could save as a draft,
Okay.
you don't have to save it as your final, but once you save it as your final, it's hard to change.
It's a little,
Okay.
I don't know, it's a little maddening to just keep going back to the,
Yeah, I never do that, I just rank it, you going.
just.
If someone could show me, I was trying to get through the dashboard and I like couldn't figure out how to get in.
Yeah,
Well-
you've gotta hit Rory on there first.
Well, it wasn't released for a while. Sue, are we?
They're up.
It was
Oh,
after she
okay.
sent the notification that it was up, so
Yeah.
I was not
Go ahead.
clicking or doing something.
Are you leaving?
differently.
I kind of have to go.
Yeah, go for it. You're good.
Do you want me to bring one up quickly on the screen just to show you? Liza?
Yeah, that'd be good, and then I have to go too. 'Cause
Well, we don't have to, I mean, that's,
No, no, if you don't mind, Sue, let's just show so that she understands, like, you gotta hit the Rory. It's different than when you go in and
let me go out.
project, start reading.
Yeah.
But just quickly, can we meet on Tuesday at
Do you-
2:30?
You all want to do that?
That's fine.
So, you know, you could be.
I would
Is
have
that
to I have to verify that it's available. I have to check that with Erica. I can't just change it.
Well, you had it on Tuesday at 2.
At 2, correct.
Yeah, we just wanna see, can we do 2:30, and we're gonna be,
See, I have it right here.
and that's,
Yeah.
That's.
it's
long as
not
we
gonna
don't
be a
go past
long
4.
one.
Okay, sure.
Let's just say 2:30 to 3:30.
Okay, you got it.
Okay.
Tuesday, and then let's not do next Thursday, Sue. I think that might,
Yeah, just
Okay.
cancel.
and then I don't think we'll meet again till after Christmas is kind of my goal. But on Tuesday, we'll determine when you should have your rankings done. And then we'll come back for discussion.
Sue, on Liza,
Okay,
Bye, Dawn.
hi, Don. On Liza's drop-down menu, or the menu on the side there with supplemented documents and introduction, she does not have
She's
my
really
Rory.
my favorite one up the truck. I said, let's rank that truck. Pull that up.
So I don't have.
She
my-
doesn't- she does not have that on hers.
I thank
But-
you, Christie.
But if she click, that isn't gonna put, let me show
Right,
show me your,
I think
because
you're
that
going in
won't
a
pull up
different
if
way.
you're not going to it on the right tab at the
Right,
top.
to go here, correct?
So up here, you gotta
Oh,
go,
I can't see what you're doing here,
Here.
but I think this is where it should be, is in here.
and then let's see, you're on here. Oh yeah, she doesn't have that, Sue.
All right, I'll have to, hang one sec, I'll check her settings.
Cause like, so I'll go there and I'll type something
Yeah.
in.
And
But
then it
then
doesn't
that-
bring you there.
It won't bring me to it won't have my Rory at the bottom.
Okay.
Oh.
All right. I was trying to figure out what I was doing wrong.
Yeah,
Hang on. I just updated your profile, though I don't think that's gonna change anything. Let me just look
Was
at,
it just she didn't have access to?
No, you know
anything?
what?
she might not be listed as a,
Oh,
does she have any
She's-
Rorys? Liza, can you see if you have any of them?
So I also just went to truck replacement and I did not see it on mine.
Okay, can you tell me which one? I'm so sorry. It
Yeah,
helps me to
yeah.
know
I
what
can.
project,
She's-
because,
which one
Truck,
was that?
Wanna Come at Water truck replacement for 55,000.
oh, I just meant that's okay. It's easier to have the project number, but it's okay. Water.
Yeah,
What's project
26002.
I mean, we're just hitting any of them, but we do need to hit one that's current.
Well, but I know you're looking at any of them, but the only way I can tell is if.
If she's on a current one, right?
we'll end with all the, yeah, I can't do it.
What's the truck one for the F-350, Sue?
I don't have the list in front of me. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I just thought you had it for the
I
one. we-
did, and then I just took it down, and it's hard to hear you guys when everybody talks at the same time is all. So I had this one, and you can see, since we're in screens there, you can see it shows, it's in capital committee review.
27-002.
So that's what's, but here's my, and I can't see everybody on the screen anymore. I used to be able to.
Usually not there. Should I log out and log back in?
I don't, I wish I could answer that for you, Liza, because you are set up like everybody else, and the problem.
Hold on, I don't think I put it into your capital request.
Like, Christy, can you see this one that I have up on the screen? Because I show you as Liza may be a case of as a new member, somehow it's not coming through.
Then up here, it will say my Rory, and that's what you're gonna hit.
Okay, all
When
right.
it's there.
That's where I was
Yeah.
running.
The other
into.
way,
And then it'll
Liza,
look like this.
the other way too is if you can do me a favor, see up here,
Yeah,
if you go to Rory's, you should get a
Yeah.
whole list. Do you have anything in there?
I have a whole list, but when
Okay.
I click each individual one on the side, on the options over.
She doesn't
on the
have
left.
my Rory.
Yeah, I
She
don't have
doesn't
that.
have, okay, I'm gonna have to take that up with the developer. I don't know what's going on there.
Maybe
Okay,
just because you're new.
yeah,
All right, so maybe that can get fixed by Tuesday, Sue, and then we can over, but if you just show the.
I don't know, yeah, you know what, can you screenshot for, send it, email it, you don't have to do it right now, but because it'll
I
be
can do
easier
it.
to show them what,
yes.
Okay,
that would be wonderful, if you can give me
good,
an
well, that's
example
good
of
that
one,
we,
that will
we
be
know that
helpful.
now. Sue, thank you.
Madam Chair, were you planning to talk about the work group? Since we-
You mean for the report writing?
Yes. Only because we
Let's
don't
talk
have
about
any
it Tuesday. I kind of feel
Okay.
like,
Okay,
is Howard still up there? I think Howard's gone.
no, he's here.
I'm
Oh,
still
hey,
here.
Howard, you are the work group. What are we saying? I mean, this is like, you're doing,
Well,
you and I are gonna do it, I think, Howard, and then everybody else can
And
edit
so
it
this
after
is for
that.
the report that you put together?
Yeah, then
yeah,
we'll just,
yeah, I have to
Yeah.
remember what the notes are, but yeah.
I think, well, PJ's
Maybe-
still on too. Maybe we can.
Well, I don't know if he
He
wants
did
to
a great
volunteer,
job.
but you did the first draft, remember, Sue?
Yeah, I do all the charts and all of that and then send it around and I think PJ edited it for us. and proofread
very
it.
good.
All right,
And yeah, so why don't,
all right.
Pete
Sorry.
and Howard and I can oversee it. Last year, I liked the report. It was very short and sweet.
I seem to not have my Rory on any new requests.
Ah, okay, thank you for letting me know that.
Right.
I'm gonna
I
have to
did
see
that.
have.
I just went
the
through
ones
about
I
5
pulled
of
up,
them.
I had.
And
I
you have
looked at old
nothing?
re- No, I looked at old requests, I have it, and on new requests, I do not have it.
Oh, gosh. Okay, thank you. I'll have
Yeah.
to see what's
It does,
going on.
each one takes a little longer, guys, but that's why I keep asking, can we just get the list of the ones that are for real? Cause if it gets whittled down, it's gonna save us some time.
Yeah, so we
The
have
list I
61.
sent is the updated list.
Oh, I know you did, Sue. Sorry.
Okay.
I just keep hoping you'll send us a new list. It's like, hey, Jill, it's only 40. I was like, great.
Oh, no, I don't think it's going down. It won't go down anymore. I'd
I'm
be
hoping
surprised.
so. I am
Right.
hoping.
He's holding out
It is the
hope.
Christmas season. Sue, thank you for all you've done. You've had to chase up so much information for us. It's
That's
been a little,
okay.
and we'll wait on the crack money and yeah, don't rank that one until we know what that money went to.
And then when is the deadline for ranking all of our worries for you and Howard?
That's what I think we should talk about on Tuesday.
Okay.
I'll try to, yeah,
Okay.
We'll be doing them for a while.
I think it's gonna take a little while. It takes some time, but I don't know when our report is. We usually do the report the end of January for the select board, but I wouldn't be shocked if this got delayed. Especially like last night, they had the big conversation about OIH and
I think
I don't
that, Christie, I think that that we marked it up and brought it back to everybody like in late January or early February. And the reason why that one was particularly controversial was because of our island home. But otherwise,
Yeah.
I think
So
that,
if we don't have that, that probably won't be, but you know, we don't have the numbers on.
No.
Employee housing, and they're not gonna have that for this report, so we might have to say, oh, well, we support it. But we have no idea what it's gonna cost, like.
right, the toughest part is dreaming up the comments, and so, if any of you have like, oh, I'm confused, or I didn't like this because of this, or I thought that this is questionable, it would be great to have those that I could aggregate together to make the comment list.
Yeah.
For particular requests that warrant it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Well, the OIH one is kind of unique, often. Well, last year, one of the things that I thought was different than years before, and you guys have been on longer, so you tell me, is that we didn't support OIH as a committee. But we still gave it time in the report. Usually things we don't support, they just don't get mentioned.
That's a no-brainer right there.
Yeah, but if it's a debt exclusion, I think we have to explain why.
Right.
And so if that happens, it's time for what, you know, whatever it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Liza, a comment that I wouldn't write, but as an example, for instance, is is the housing. Christmas. And I would say, well, we really support it. However, you know, that because we appreciate the need for housing. However, we do not think that all of the approaches to structuring it have been looked at.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, like we might, so you might just think how you want to phrase something like that, if that's how you felt about it, but that'll come out in our discussion. So we'll rank everything, we'll come together. Things will be above the standard deviation and below. And so some things will get eliminated and some will, what we say is go into the hopper and say, yeah, that's going through.
Okay.
And some things that go through, we still talk about and say, I still don't like it, or some things that don't go through, and then we'll say, oh, we should push that forward.
Okay.
So there's still flexibility.
All right.
And Liza, I'm around if you want to ask if you can't catch up with Jill also, so to work with you on that, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
So Tuesday will be, we'll go through one if you guys want to come. And then,
good.
yeah. Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn? I gotta go.
Yeah. So moved.
Second.
Power,
Moved, yes.
Jill, Liza,
Aye.
Jill's and I, Sue, thank you, sorry.
Thank you,
everybody.
Sue.
No worries.
Bye.
Bye, thanks.
All right, thanks.